I'd like to call to order the October 21st, 2024 Cabarrus County Board of Commissioners regular meeting. Welcome, everyone. If you would please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If you would please join me for a moment of silence for our invocation tonight. Thank you. Okay, first up is the approval or correction of the minutes. You all have a copy of them before you. Do I hear a motion to either approve or correct the minutes as presented?
Motion to approve. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes. Next up is the approval of the agenda. You all have a copy of that before you. Do I hear a motion to approve the meeting agenda with the changes on page 41?
Motion to approve. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes. We are happy to have with us tonight one of our youth commissioners, and if you would key up your mic and introduce yourself to the group, and welcome. We're glad to have you here. There you go.
I'm Matthew Torres, and I'm from Cottonville High School, and I'm a senior.
Great. Good to have you with us, Matthew. Thank you. Okay, first up is recognitions and presentations. First, we have a proclamation from Planning Department for Weatherization Day 2024, and we're happy to have Robert Anderson for that presentation. Welcome.
Good evening, Commissioners. Proclamation of Weatherization Day 2024. Whereas October is National Energy Awareness Month and October 30th is designated as National Weatherization Day, and whereas the County of Cabarrus has a long-standing commitment to conserve its resources and to help low-income households through its Weatherization Assistance Program, and whereas the state of North Carolina has administered the Weatherization Assistance Program since its inception in 1976, providing a variety of state and federal resources through numerous community action agencies, housing authorities, and departments of local government that serve people in every county in the state. And whereas it is important to recognize the importance of those programs that ensure all residents, especially those living at or below the federal poverty level, have the opportunity to live in energy efficient, healthy, safe, and comfortable homes as provided for by the Weatherization Assistance Program. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Cabarrus County Board of Commissioners do hereby proclaim October 30th, 2024 as Weatherization Day in the County of Cabarrus, and I urge all citizens to join me in this observance, adopted this 21st day of October 2024.
Thank you. Commissioners, you have heard the resolution proclamation. Do I hear a motion to approve as presented?
So moved. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next up, we have a proclamations from Veteran Services for Operation Greenlight. We're happy to have Tony Miller with us for that presentation.
Good evening, everyone. Supporting Operation Greenlight for veterans. Whereas the residents of Cabarrus County have great respect, admiration, and the utmost gratitude for all the men and women who have selflessly served our country and this community in the armed forces. And whereas the contributions and sacrifices of those who served in the armed forces have been vital in maintaining the freedoms and the way of life enjoyed by our citizens. And whereas Cabarrus County seeks to honor individuals who have made countless sacrifices, freedom, by placing themselves in harm's way for the good of all. And whereas veterans continue to serve our community in the American Legion, Veterans of Foreign Wars, religious groups, civil service, and by functioning as Cabarrus County service officers in 29 states to help fellow former service members access more than $52 billion in federal health, disability, and compensation benefits each year. And whereas approximately 200,000 service members transition to civilian communities annually. And whereas an estimated 20% increase of service members will transition to civilian life in the near future. And whereas studies indicate that 44 to 72% of service members experience high levels of stress during transition from the military to civilian life. And whereas active military service members transitioning from military service are at a high risk for suicide during their first year after military service. And whereas the National Association of Counties encourages all counties, parishes, and boroughs to recognize Operation Greenlight for veterans. And whereas the Cabarrus County appreciates the sacrifices of our United States military personnel and believes specific recognition be granted to them, therefore be it proclaimed with the designation of Cabarrus County as a green light for Veterans County, to salute and honor the service and sacrifices of our men and women in uniform transitioning from active service, therefore be it further proclaimed that the observance of Operation Greenlight, Cabarrus County encourages its citizens in patriotic tradition to recognize the importance of honoring all those who made immeasurable sacrifices to preserve freedom by displaying green lights in a window of their place of business or residence from November the 4th through November the 11th, 2024. Adopted this 21st day of October, 2024.
Thank you, thank you, Tony. Commissioners, you've heard the proclamation. Do I hear a motion to adopt as presented? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? I'll just mention that I certainly hope that people become aware of this, November 4th through the 11th. There was a time when purchasing green lights was a little bit more difficult, and now there is a ready supply of those, as well as color-changing bulbs for these kind of recognitions, so we hope that the public will take advantage of that.
Thank you, sir.
Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes. And Tony also has our next proclamation for Veterans Day.
Proclamation Veterans Day 2024. Whereas America was founded on the principles of liberty, opportunity, and justice for all, and whereas America has called on her men and women in uniform to protect our national security, to preserve our rights and freedoms, and to keep our democracy safe. And whereas, therefore, their steadfast defense of America's ideals, our service members have ensured our country still stands strong on our founding principles, still shine, and the nations around the world know the blessings of freedom. And whereas on Veterans Day, November 11th, 2024, we recognize the men and women of our armed forces who valiantly defended these values throughout our nation's history. And whereas we also remember and pay tribute to the American Armed Forces whose courage and sacrifices secures our freedoms, keeps the peace, and defends our values around the world. Now, therefore, the Cabarrus County Board of Commissioners do hereby proclaim November the 11th, 2024 as National Veterans Day and call upon the citizens to always remember and honor our veterans and those who continue to serve this country willingly to preserve the principles of justice, freedom, and democracy for all. Adopted this 21st day of October, 2024.
Thank you. Commissioners, you've heard the proclamation. Do I hear a motion to adopt as presented? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to make just a couple, I'm on. Of all of the things that I've been able to accomplish in my life for soon be 71 years, but being a veteran means something to me. And I thank my fellow veterans for their service, because I went through a lot back in the early 70s during the Vietnam era. And, you know, I appreciate what the veterans do. And Tony, I appreciate you for what you do for our veterans here in Cabarrus County. You've got an issue, you go see Tony. He'll help you get it straightened out.
Thank you, sir.
Great, thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes. Thank you.
Sir, I also like to invite everyone to this year's Veterans Day program, which will be held on November the 11th at 11 o'clock at the Boys and Girls Club. So invite everybody out for that event. And thank you to all our veterans. Thank you.
Great, thank you, sir. Okay, next up is proclamation for World Polio Day. I will read that proclamation. World Polio Day. On behalf of all Rotary clubs in Cabarrus County, North Carolina. Whereas World Polio Day is observed annually on October 24th to commemorate the birth of Jonas Salk, who led the first team to develop a vaccine against poliomyelitis. And whereas the global effort to eradicate polio has been one of the most successful public health initiatives, reducing polio cases by over 99% since 1988. And whereas Rotary International, the World Health Organization, the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, UNICEF, and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation have led the global polio eradicative initiative. And whereas polio is a highly infectious disease that can cause paralysis and sometimes even death, primarily affecting children under the age of 5. And whereas thanks to extensive vaccination efforts, polio is now endemic in only 2 countries, Afghanistan and Pakistan, but it remains a threat until it is eradicated everywhere. And whereas the eradication of polio will prevent an estimated 10 million cases of paralysis in children over the next 40 years and will save over $40 billion in health care costs, particularly in low-income countries. And whereas continued vigilance and immunization are essential to ensure that polio does not return to polio-free countries. And whereas the residents of Cabarrus County are encouraged to support polio eradication efforts and raise awareness about the importance of vaccination. And whereas the commitment to eradicating polio is a testament to what can be achieved when a communities, governments, and organizations around the world work together towards a common goal. And whereas on this World Polio Day, we honor the dedication and efforts of healthcare workers, volunteers, and organizations who strive to eliminate this disease and improve global health. Now therefore be it resolved that the Cabarrus County Board of Commissioners hereby proclaims October 24th, 2024 as World Polio Day in Cabarrus County, and urges all residents to recognize the importance of continued support and efforts to eradicate polio globally. Commissioners, you've heard the proclamation. Do I hear a motion to adopt as presented?
Motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes. Next up, we're happy to recognize Jimmy Lentz for a retirement recognition. I should say Jimmy Lentz and Company.
Well, thank you, Commissioners. The retirement of Sergeant Jeff Penninger marks the end of an illustrious career dedicated to serving the community through emergency medical services. His journey actually began at the City of Concord in the Public Utilities Department in 1995 and transitioned to EMS with Stanley County EMS in the year 2000. He came home and to Cabarrus EMS in 2001. Sergeant Penninger has left an incredible mark on those he has worked with and helped. As a sergeant and field training officer at Cabarrus County EMS, he has exemplified professionalism, compassion, and expertise in his role. Sergeant Penninger's involvement with the Cabarrus County Sheriff's Department Explosive Ordnance Disposal Team and his oversight of medical command and education for local fire departments showcase his commitment to enhancing public safety. He has a proactive approach in assisting patients with left ventricular assist device, which is a device that helps failing hearts awaiting heart transfers, and Jeff has taken a passion in those folks as they return to the county and we have to visit them. Sergeant Penninger's retirement leaves a void in the public safety sector, which will be difficult to fill, and his legacy will continue to inspire and guide those following in his footsteps. Jeff, thank you for a fantastic career.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you to everybody, and it's been my pleasure, been my honor to serve Cabarrus County. All right.
Thank you, Jeff. We appreciate your service. Okay, next up, we are happy to have Jason Burnett from Emergency Management to give us an update on Hurricane Helene County response.
Good evening, Commissioners. Myself and actually Sheriff Shaw are before you this evening to provide an update on our recent deployment and support provided to Western North Carolina following our response to Hurricane Helene. First, on behalf of all public agencies, safety agencies here in Cabarrus County, our hearts go out to all those that are affected. So many lives have forever been changed. North Carolina is a very resilient state, and those affected will continue to need our prayers and support over time. This will certainly be a marathon and not a sprint as we look to continuing months and years into the future for recovery. And we encourage citizens as they are able to donate to established organizations providing support directly to those impacted. I'm proud of the departments and personnel that will be recognized in this presentation this evening. While not everyone or every department is able to deploy for this particular event, some staffing has to remain back here to provide the critical services to our citizens. Deployments are authorized through North Carolina Emergency Management. As requests are made, agencies actually submit or roster their availability. Once a mission has been created, it is filled with personnel and resources similar to those that will be discussed tonight. A mission number is then assigned, and then the deployment itself occurs. Our office will begin the process of working with each county department and partnering agency in the future on reimbursement process. Federally declared disasters allow for reimbursable expenses for areas such as labor, vehicle usage, and equipment. We will work to offset these expenses through reimbursements as we move forward. One item of note is Cabarrus County has been federally declared in this disaster. So what does that mean? It means that this past week, Cabarrus County now qualifies for individual assistance, which is also known as IA. That is directly related to private property owners that may have received damage as a result of the storm, as well as public assistance, which is also known as PA, in categories A and B. Category A is damage, disaster removal of debris, and Category B is emergency protective measures. While we are not aware of any specific damage reported at this time to Cabarrus County, citizens may reach out to emergency management if they feel they have any type of qualifying damage. I wanted to highlight the following county departments who have deployed over the last couple of weeks. Construction Standards, 7 employees provided damage assessment assistance across Buncombe, Henderson, Mitchell, and Rutherford counties. Cooperative Extension, 2 employees provided greenhouse industry assessments in Burke County, and 1 employee is assisting with food distribution in Avery County. DSS, 4 employees have deployed to provide shelter support in Caldwell and Henderson counties, and multiple employees are assisting remotely with processing of Disaster Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or DSNAP, applications. Emergency Management, 2 employees have provided administrative level support in both the operations and logistics section of North Carolina Emergency Management, specifically focused on the Western Branch Regional Coordination Center in Catawba County. We have deployed the swiftwater assets maintained by Harrisburg Fire Department with 8 personnel to Buncombe County. We have provided our companion animal shelter trailer, better known as a CAST, to Buncombe County to set up a mobile animal shelter. This trailer is capable of sheltering 44 domestic animals. We provided a rapid deployment shelter equipped with heating and cooling support to Swannanoa for incident support operations. We've received a commodity push of drinking water and meals ready to eat, better known as MREs. These are being provided to each emergency response agency and partnering agency in the county for restock, as well as any remaining inventory will be strategically sent over time to pre-identified areas in western North Carolina to make the biggest impacts. We have also provided vehicles, trailers, and other resource support for our partnering agencies to provide and carry out their missions. EMS, 13 personnel deployed to provide pre-hospital care, wellness checks, shelter assistance, and various community paramedic functions. Also of note are the numerous donation drives EMS has recently completed and the transport of these goods directly to those affected in western North Carolina over the last couple of weeks. And Chief Lynch just made me aware that they are actually deploying again here shortly to provide further assistance. I did want to recognize a couple of our county volunteer and combination paid fire departments that have provided assistance. Allen Fire Department has deployed an engine and 5 personnel to cover county fire stations in Buncombe County. Coldwater Fire Department deployed an engine and 7 personnel to cover Black Mountain Fire Department in Buncombe County. Midland Fire Department provided an engine and staff vehicle and 5 personnel to cover Tryon Fire Department in Polk County. Northeast Cabarrus Fire Department provided 2 personnel, and Reimer Fire Department provided a tanker and 5 personnel to cover the City of Asheville Fire Department, specifically for mobile water for firefighting operations while their water system has been down. Another partnering agency that I wanted to highlight is Cabarrus Health Alliance, CHA. They have deployed 4 nurses for shelter staff support in Buncombe County and 3 environmental health specialists for food and lodging inspections, as well as well water and septic inspections in both Buncombe and Yancey County. So to our commissioners, I just want to say thank you for the continued and unwavering support of all of these different departments that have the capacity and ability to provide the ability to deploy in these times, especially with our neighbors needing that support. And I think you'll see as Sheriff Shaw presents his presentation as well, just the true impact that Cabarrus County and the employees have made in this response. So now I'm gonna turn it over to Sheriff Shaw to detail out the response by the Sheriff's Office.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Appreciate you having me. Just want to run through a quick PowerPoint and overview of our response to Western North Carolina. So we got the call on that following Friday that, let's see. There you go. So we got the call to come to assist Buncombe County Sheriff's Office on the Friday that the storm stopped. We were not able to deploy that day. They called us back and told us there's no way to get up here. So I wanted to talk a little bit about how that happens with sheriff's offices. Through the North Carolina Sheriff's Association and our state disaster assistance network, instead of all of us rushing to Western North Carolina, we contact the Sheriff's Association and say, these are the resources we have. They coordinate response based on requests from other sheriffs. Then all of that is recorded through or pushed through the state EOC center so that we're given a mission number. So there's not duplication of resources. There's not an overcrowding of resources in one county versus the other. So you get that mission number, you're told where to go, and you go. So that's how it all gets started. So on Friday the 28th, as I mentioned, we were requested by Buncombe County to come to their aid. And they were really wanting rescue and recovery is what they were asking for. We went up there. One of the things that they told us is we need you to come up for a week, but we want you to be self-sufficient. And so we started thinking about what was that going to look like. So we ended up deploying on Saturday, the following day, and we put together a group of folks that could not only carry out that mission, but could also make sure we were self-sufficient. And so what that meant was we had to carry our own food, our own cookers, and everything else. Well, something happened during this process. And what ended up happening is, as our folks were cooking breakfast one morning, officers started coming up from other agencies and telling us that they hadn't eaten in 18 to 24 hours. So we started feeding them the food that we had brought with us to last us a week. In 2 days, it was gone. So we gladly picked up this mission, a few of our folks, and began to go about figuring out a way to feed first responders. There's no water, there's no power, there's nothing open, there's no food for these first few days. So what we quickly did was take those people that we had and put them into preparing as many meals as they can. And I'll show you in a little bit what that looked like. But we initially took up 13 employees, 11 deputies for security and search and rescue. We took 2 telecommunicators at the request of Buncombe County to work in their 911 center. We also took up 2 drones at their request to help with search and rescue. And our property and evidence tech was our cook, for lack of a better term. He had some experience, and so we took him with us. Okay. So primarily, those first several days, we were doing search and rescue. Our special vehicle response team went up. They're trained in search and rescue, and they were equipped with four-wheelers and side-by-sides. And they quickly went about in the Swannanoa area, right outside of Asheville, between Asheville and Swannanoa, going and doing welfare checks, rescue missions, and recovery missions where that was the case. Where there was no rescue, it was merely recovering a victim of the storm. Okay. So you see a few pictures are highlighted there, but that gives you an idea of the terrain that we were operating in. You'll see those intermixed in with this presentation. But we did deploy our command trailer as well. It's self-sufficient, so we were able to take that up. Also, Jason had mentioned the CAS system. We also ended up deploying animal shelter employees as well in Henderson County to support that operation. We had multiple patrol vehicles, trailers, those types of things that were up there. Okay. Then getting back to my kitchen services story. So this team jumped in wherever there was a vacancy and started literally preparing food and feeding folks in a secure environment. We were able to acquire a middle school where we started up the cafeteria. Fortunately, our guy that we took with us knew how to operate all the equipment in the cafeteria. So the school system said, have at it, whatever's there, please take and start feeding. And then we started getting donations from the community. We reached back to Cabarrus County, and many citizens donated food to go to feeding the first responders up there during those first critical days. So we were very proud of ramping up to do something we had never done before, but that was immensely critical. Next slide, please. Here is a picture of, we found out that there were 200 nurses at Mission Memorial Hospital that had not had a hot meal for several days. So this group prepared 200 hot meals and took them to the nurses at Mission Memorial, all through donations, food that were brought by restaurants that their food was still frozen, but it wasn't going to be frozen long. So they brought it to us to cook for these folks. So that was the first hot meal they had had inside of about 4 days of running a hospital with very little power and water. Next slide. As I said, our animals need help too. In a lot of situations, shelters are such that the companion animal can't be taken into the shelter for obvious reasons. So as Jason mentioned, the CAS system was deployed. We provided assistance in trying to coordinate that, because when you've lost everything except your pet becomes a very valuable thing and emotionally supportive. And so to be able to have them co-located where they could go out and take them out and visit with them and be there with them meant the world to them. So we're very proud. We sent them up to Henderson County 2 different times for a week each. We also got a request from McDowell County. McDowell County is where Marion and Old Fort are. You may have heard about how hard Old Fort especially was hit. We provided 6 officers to them and assisted with patrol calls, welfare checks, and security. We did a lot of security at different sites where supplies were coming in and you didn't know what was coming. Some of it was extremely valuable. So you had to secure it because a lot of people needed it, but it needed to be done in an orderly fashion. If you can imagine, when a tractor trailer shows up full of generators, it sparks a lot of interest, and so trying to get that done in an orderly fashion. So they did an exceptional job. This is them going in to the area where they were going to be working. Okay. And in search and rescue in the Swannanoa area, these are some of our deputies that are simply clearing cars that have been destroyed in the flood, making sure that there were no bodies in there, and if so, recovering those to get them identified and their loved ones notified. And the photograph on the right there is what they encountered the first night going into Buncombe County and where they had to get to. They literally had to cut a pathway down the road in order to get the equipment there. So it started immediately upon arriving in Buncombe County. Just another example of how many of these we're dealing with. One vehicle totally destroyed was not a one-off. It was everywhere you turned around. There were vehicles that had to be searched and cleared and made sure that anybody needing help was getting it. And just a couple more examples of, the vehicles. The Special Vehicle Response Team is a team that was created through a grant from the Cannon Foundation a number of years ago. And they were immensely, they were invaluable in this particular operation because you couldn't travel by regular vehicle. It was the only way to get help to people and to make sure people were okay and identify what needs they had. So as a recap, we were there from September 28th till October 11th, 13 employees initially to Buncombe County, a second deployment on October 4th through October 9th, the 6 telecommunicators that went up and helped with Buncombe County. Our makeshift crew, food crew, served over 8,535 meals to just first responders, and we just found that to be simply amazing. And being dedicated that no job was too small. You can see on even notes were written on boxes that were going out as a form of support in getting this out to not only law enforcement, but to firefighters, EMS, those types that were out in the field that just weren't getting food in the early days of this operation. And then I mentioned also Henderson County, the 4 shelter employees. Okay. And there we are with our partners from Buncombe County. We wanted to get one parting shot before the first group left, and developed a really strong relationship with them, with the sheriff's office, as along with many other sheriff's offices. And very pleased. I got a phone call after Mecklenburg County's officers got back from Sheriff McFadden, just thanking me immensely for taking care of his officers and us feeding them and looking after them during that time. There was a lot of support there when you could sit down and at least have one hot meal a day. So while it wasn't glamorous work, I went up and did it one day, and it wasn't glamorous work, but it made you feel good that you were keeping this machine going of providing support and services. So I thank the commission for being supportive, for allowing us to be able to go and help these. The whole system works on that. Hopefully you never need it, but I know Buncombe County, along with many other counties, would come running to support us if we had a disaster similar. So it's important. But thank you very much.
Great. Sheriff Shaw, Jason, thank you very much for that report, and please extend our appreciation to all of those people you've talked about that have served so well and made Cabarrus County so proud in the service you've provided. And as you said, we hope we never need to call on them, but it's reassuring to know that they will be there if we do. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you
very much. Okay, we move now to informal public comments. I think that there have been copies of our participation policy out in the audience, and if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to address them. One thing that I think most of you are aware of is we do not allow cheering, booing, or clapping, or any expressions after the comments. And so our first card is from Jerry Anderson.
Jerry Anderson. I'm up here about the taking of my daughter, my granddaughter, and my daughter dying. I think y'all are responsible. This is a scandal of 4/9/16. On June 21st, 21, Mike Downs, you did an investigation, and you told me after the investigation that y'all did not give temporary custody orders, and that all I got was a safety resource placement memo. And what you did, you pissed on me and told me it was rain, because April 28, 21, 3 months before that, Carol Calhoun said y'all had 3 cases of temporary custodies, and y'all had a problem with it. I called you the orchestrator because you lied about it. And then your Jay White lied about it on TV, WBT, and April 5th, not April 5th, but in April in 2022, he said they had no forms like that, and he had to come back and tell WBT that he was wrong. So you had Jay White lying, you lying, Karen Calhoun lying, and DSS worker you still got employed today. If this is not a scandal, she's employed today. I seen her up at the courthouse and went to jail for 4 days because I couldn't believe it, and I had an emotional outcry. You still got that woman working here, and Jessica Bridges had it in her little form. She didn't ask me to do it online to make my form like Joyce Banks. She had it in 2016, and you lied to me. And I asked you all this time, why'd y'all take my child up here? And all you do is sit there. You're a liar. I asked for your resignation. Now I'm asking for your arrest because you're participating in criminal activity. These forms were wrong, and I'm asking for Jay White's arrest, and you're the government. I got him lying. This is your paper, Mike Downs. And when I went to find out more about that form, because my daughter tore it up, and I went up there to tell him, hey, can I get another one? And how do I go about getting not temporary but permanent? They retaliated. And 2 weeks later, they was at my house taking my grandchild. Retaliation. We got something going on here. You're a liar, and I can't stand it. You disgust me.
Okay, our next card is from Jeter Anderson.
Jeter Anderson. We got a so-called veteran up here. He don't support other veterans. Some brother in arms you are, man. Mike Downs, temporary custody orders are not meant to be used in your DSS, so it explains what happened to my sister, why she was a competent adult when she wasn't, why this child was taken and there's no answer, and why all this chaos happened. And y'all contacted the people that y'all did temporary custody, but you didn't contact us because someone died from it, right? Someone died from it. You're willfully lying. This was a willful hate crime. You didn't just hate us, y'all willingly hate us. You willingly made sure this little girl was taken. You didn't change no diagnosis, did you? I asked you, you didn't answer. You didn't do that, did you? You don't have time for that. It's takey for you. So you just do that illegal paperwork and it's done. Your kid is gone. Your kid is gone when Jessica Bridges, and I seen her 100%, Jessica Bridges is giving out these papers, temporary custody orders. And why is she still up here? Why is she still up here? Mike Downs and Jay White, they're liars. They're liars. And we're not asking you to resign no more. Please don't. We're asking for their arrest. They need to be cuffed up and taken to jail. Y'all are disgusting. All y'all. How can you do this to a little girl? Jessica Bridges, Jay White, Michael K. Downs. All should be under arrest for this illegal paperwork removal of kids. There's no telling how many they did this to, but they got caught with this one. Somebody died. Somebody died from it. They didn't get the treatment they needed. They were treated as a competent adult when they were a federal helpless child. And they got put in court and through your motions with no lawyer, because that's how y'all take kids around here with Jay White. Just quickly sending them through. If they can get them up there, no lawyer, they got your kid. They're not in the best interest. Michael K. Downs is not in the best interest of kids. And there's no way you should have a budget director as the head of DSS. What does he care if your child gets taken quickly? Hey, it's money for him. It's money for him. Maybe he needed money for that court building. It come up quick and fast and got the plumbing he wanted in it. He needs to be arrested. You need to be charged. What is this, a child trafficking ring? Why would you do illegal paperwork? Why is illegal paperwork in your DSS? Why are they around kids? Why is that around kids? Why is that around kids? Why is that around vulnerable people? Am I the only one that cares about vulnerable people and kids? This county has a kid crisis going on. Because you let this head of DSS be our budgeter. He's not doing the kids justice. And y'all have the power to do something about it. And y'all, what are y'all, buddy with him? Our child is, you willfully did this, man.
Okay, our next card is from Kirby Bullard.
Hello. A little bit shorter. My name is Kirby Bullard, and I am an almost 30-year resident of Concord and Cabarrus County. I'm here tonight on a happy mission, I would say. Not for any performative reason, but just to say thank you to Steve Morris for his many years of service on the board. It's been interesting to watch the last few months' county commissioner meetings. All I can say is thank you, Steve, for your resoluteness, your faithfulness to the community, your great attitude. As I was thinking about what I wanted to say tonight, the Teddy Roosevelt essay, The Man in the Arena, popped in my head. He wrote it on April the 23rd, 1910. I'm not sure I've ever read it in its entirety, and I'm not going to read the whole thing, but here's just a line or two. It is not the critic that counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who's actually in the arena. Thank you, Steve, for being in the arena, for fighting for this community to make it better and stronger, to not be afraid of change, of diversity, of growth. Unfortunately, I'm afraid we will really miss you once you roll off at the end of this year, but I trust that the remaining board members and whichever ones win the election will pursue the same goals that you did, which was to serve all the citizens of Cabarrus County. I know you've taken a lot of heat for recommending the purchase of the ACN building, but after watching both the July and August meetings, I totally understand and support this as the best solution. Moving DSS into a building the county owns is a much better solution for the future. I'm very pleased that has been approved by the LGC, and I hope they will hurry up and rule on the replacement school for Coltrane, Webb, and Beverly Hills. Cabarrus County is a growing and thriving county and community, and going back to the way it used to be is a recipe for disaster. Thankfully, when we moved here, we were not treated like people that weren't wanted, and it's been a great place to raise our family. It really makes me proud seeing all the things that Sheriff Shaw presented. What a great thing that our county did for those folks. I think that's all I've got to say. I thank you, Steve, and I hope there will be other avenues that you can pursue once you're no longer a county commissioner, because I know you still have an awful lot to offer. I wish you well, and I thank you again.
Thank you. Our next card is from Bob Anderson.
Good evening, Commissioners. Bob Anderson, Concord. During the last few meetings, we have heard from several individuals with negative opinions concerning the recent decision to purchase the ACN property. We may hear more tonight. I would like to provide you a summary with a different perspective. They have said that the county is paying twice as much for the building as it is worth. Sometimes what something is worth is more than just the purchase price. Sometimes you need to have the vision to look beyond what others may not see. Thank you for having that vision, Commissioners. We have heard that the Commissioners tried to find another suitable property that would meet the needs of our citizens. You reviewed 9 additional properties. None were adequate for our needs. The ACN property, which is the only Class A office building in the county, meets those needs. In addition, the ACN location has enough property to allow the county to build the new behavioral health center and already has adequate parking. We know that if we don't purchase the ACN property, we can't find an existing piece of property that is adequate. The other option is to build new. So where does that leave us? $42 million for the total property, $20 million for the rehabilitation, for a total of $62 million. If a new building had to be built, the cost estimate is between $85 million and $130 million. My math says that that is a savings for Cabarrus County of $23 million on the low end and $68 million on the high end. Seems like a pretty good decision to me. Thank you, Commissioners. I keep hearing that many people in our community are suffering, and I know that this is accurate, this is true. So let's not forget that there are many people in our community that need the critical services that are provided by the Department of Human Services. The work that is being done by our county commissioners will help to alleviate that suffering and allow our county to provide needed services with updated facilities. And let's not forget that the approval of the purchase was not done solely by Steve Morris, but it was approved by the whole Cabarrus County Board of Commissioners. Thank you. I want to thank the Cabarrus County Board of Commissioners for your work on this project, and I want to give a special thank you, Chairman Steve Morris, for your unwavering support of mental health services. Thank you for listening to our citizens that voiced their concerns about mental health challenges. Thank you for advocating with our local delegation to the General Assembly that it resulted in $32.5 million being allocated for funding to help build a new behavioral health facility. Thank you, Steve, for 12 years of service to this community.
Thank you. Our next card is from Diane Honeycutt.
Diane Honeycutt, Concord, North Carolina. As we bid farewell to Chairman Morris in November, it is important to reflect on his 12 years of dedicated service to our community. In this current political climate, characterized by anger, false accusations, and lack of civility, it's become apparent that Chairman Morris has stood out as a beacon of professionalism and collaboration. It is disheartening to witness the recent political campaign that sought to tarnish Chairman Morris's reputation with baseless accusations. In the March Commissioner primary, the 2 Republican primary winners chose to attack Chairman Morris throughout the campaign instead of touting their own accomplishments as elected officials. Laura Blackwell Lindsay's service on the school board for 6 years and Larry Pittman in the State House for 10 years. What does that say about their accomplishments during their public service? Commissioner Morris may not have won the primary, but the loser in that primary were the citizens of Cabarrus County, who are losing one of the most committed public servants I've ever seen. Despite facing unwarranted criticism from a small group of citizens, Chairman Morris remains steadfast in his commitment to the community, never distracted by the lies and the attacks. Under his leadership, significant milestones were achieved, including doubling the amount of supplements paid to our teachers, construction of 10 schools to meet the needs of our students and families, the replacement of courthouse facilities, the new EMS facility, the establishment of new libraries in the outer areas, and laying the groundwork for a new mental health facility and obtaining $32.5 million from the state to help fund it. That's just to name a few of his accomplishments. We wouldn't have enough time to name them all. And all of this while leading the county as we achieved AAA bond rating from all three of the leading rating agencies. To hear these two Republican commissioner candidates' comments, you would think this county is in financial ruin. I can assure you that you don't get AAA bond ratings from the three leading rating agencies if that was the case. Commissioner Morris's tenure marked a turning point for our community as he worked tirelessly to mend relationships and foster a spirit of cooperation. Cabarrus County is now recognized across the state for its ability to come together for the greater good, thanks to Chairman Morris's leadership, and I fear that this is going to change after this election. In conclusion, Chairman Morris's legacy will endure as a testament to his unwavering commitment to public service. After the primary, some of the winners and their supporters indicated that the public had spoken. They wanted change. Unfortunately, only 19% of the public spoke, with 81% of the population here not voting. And that's how we find ourselves where we are today. Thomas Jefferson said it best when he said, "We don't have government by the majority. We have government by the majority who participate by voting." 19% is not a majority, and I hope that the 81% will show up to vote November 5th. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, our next card is from Dick Snyder.
Dick Snyder. My wife and I, Diane, have known Steve Morris for over 30 years as a fellow Rotarian and as a friend. We don't think we know anyone who is more level-headed and fair-minded as a person, and certainly as a politically elected official. I see up here the mission statement says visionary leadership and good stewardship. Steve, we think you have really provided that for this county. We're sorry to see your 12 years service end. We certainly hope to see you again in a publicly elected capacity. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you. Okay, our next card is from Taranda Miller.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Taranda Miller, and I'm speaking on behalf of the Fishertown Princeton Park Community Organization. To your left, you'll see some people wearing navy blue. We're here today, y'all wave your hands. Yeah. Okay, and I'm just here. First, I wanted to say thank you to Mr. Mike Downs and Mr. Steve Morris for attending September's community meeting. You took time out of your Saturday and you sat with us and talked with us about things that we had concerns about, got some feedback from. Mr. Matt Love came out with two other gentlemen. They came out and did a ride along with some of the members of Fishertown Community Organization also. And there's a printout of what we actually have concerns about and still are just waiting on follow-up on if some of those issues or concerns are being addressed. Just want to know that we're still here, we're still waiting, just wondering if we can get an update. You know, it's sometimes even just an update to say we don't have an update, you know, right now is a good thing. And we're here, still eager with a lot of concerns, looking forward to working with you to come with resolutions to each of our issues. I know that one of the big things we talked about in our last meeting was the continued confusion about why parts of Fishertown doesn't have sewer and some parts do, but it's 2 houses down from you, and we're all just Cabarrus County residents, not City of Kannapolis. So we're just kind of confused about that. Still want to touch on that. We do have a gentleman in the neighborhood who is burning things that could possibly be toxic on Avalon Drive, and we're just really concerned about that issue. Multiple abandoned houses that's attracting squatters, abandoned cars in yards. I just don't know, I don't want to believe that we have to be annexed into the City of Kannapolis to have decent quality of living. Just want to have follow-up. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, and we'll make sure that Mr. Love follows back up with you. Okay, our next card is from Margaret Dabbs.
I'm Margaret Dabbs, and I'm a 76-year resident of Cabarrus County and proud to have been here and watched all the progress from a long time ago and a lot of dirt roads. Thank you for this opportunity to address all of y'all tonight. I stand before you tonight not to list accomplishments that you've done, but to show appreciation and admiration for Commissioner Morris. In understanding the worth and importance of Commissioner Morris's contributions to Cabarrus County, I will not discuss any one specific accomplishment, but will speak of the attributes that he brings to the table and he has contributed to enrich the lives of all of us in the county. Commissioner Morris holds others in high esteem and works to build consensus both individually and collectively for the greater good of all. He is always quick to acknowledge others' accomplishments. His hard work and dedication to the area where we live, work, and play are truly appreciated. His perseverance is likewise truly inspiring. He gives grace to others in their differences of opinion. He has always worked in accord and cooperatively with others, both individually and collectively. I will mention specifically the joint meetings with all the elected bodies in Cabarrus County. Commissioner Morris doesn't have to build himself up by tearing others down. He opens himself up to listening as opposed to condemning all ideas that are not his own. And so with my respect and praise and admiration, I offer my gratitude for his thoughtful and diligent leadership for many, many years. You have been a true friend to Cabarrus County. With my deepest appreciation, I thank you, Steve Morris.
Okay, our next card is from Tim Foley.
Good evening. I'd like to begin off script, if you will allow it, and thank you for the 2 proclamations that you passed this evening relative to veteran services. Thank you very much for that. Thank you for this opportunity to speak. This won't take long, I promise. I've watched some video of recent commission meetings, and I must admit, I watched a good bit that I didn't enjoy watching. Therefore, I will not speak derisively of any individual on this commission, nor denigrate the commission as a body. What I will do is thank all commissioners for their service on the board and their commitment of time to the business of Cabarrus County. And I thank especially Steve Morris for his many years of faithful service with vision and integrity. Steve has served faithfully for years, and he has done so out of his love for the county we call home. I think faithfully is the perfect way to describe Steve's service to Cabarrus County. And I know a bit about faithful service. Some of you may be aware that the United States Marine Corps' motto is Semper Fidelis, always faithful. Faithful service in the Marine Corps context is multifaceted. It is faithful service manifested in a commitment to success and progress, and it is steadfast loyalty. Steve is not a Marine, but I am. And I can tell you he has served all of us in Cabarrus County faithfully, just as a Marine serves the Corps and our nation, always faithfully. Semper Fidelis, Steve. You will be missed as a commissioner.
Thank you. Okay, our next card is from Scott Paget.
Good evening. My name's Scott Paget. I'm not here to complain, but commend the county commissioners. Chris, Lynn, Kenny, Steve, Tim, I know it's a hard job serving as an elected official. I know you make a lot of tough decisions, and they're not always popular. And I'll bet each one of you has lost sleep thinking about decisions you're going to have to make before you had to make them. The public doesn't understand that many times after you make those decisions, you still lose more sleep. It's a thankless job. To the county employees that I encountered through the years, I would say I have seen nothing but top-notch people. They always work hard, treat people fairly, and I know that begins with their leader, our county manager, Mike Downs. Mike has set the example. He's respected by the citizens. He was respected by other commissioners and managers across the state because of his leadership. And Mike, I want to say thank you for what you've done and what I hope you'll continue to do. Steve and Tim is getting close. Tim was pretty happy when I talked to him before the meeting. And Steve, you've completed 12 years of service. You know, you guys ought to get together and write a book. And Lynn, that's a whole lot of years of service. You could probably write a book about leadership and what you've got to go through. Steve, you came to the commission with a lot of experience in civic leadership. You've won all kind of accolades, been the president of so many organizations. Tim, you brought your experience from the school board to pitch in and help the county one more time. I appreciate it. And the Chairman Morris, 12 years of great leadership. You led with dignity and compassion for all the people you serve. Thousands of jobs have been created because of y'all and under Steve's leadership. Some people scoff at that like it's nothing. Well, there are people that probably have a job, but the people that don't have a job or don't have a job that they can actually make a living appreciate those jobs. 7,000 new jobs in a short amount of time. And those jobs will be here after you've gone. I used to say the most important thing to most people is their faith, their family, and their ability to make a living. If you can't make a living, you're in big trouble. So Steve, I want to say thank you for your leadership. Thank you.
Okay, our next card is from Judy Gray.
Hello. Good afternoon. I'm Judy Ann Allen Gray. Judy, J-U-D-Y, Gray, G-R-E-Y. Okay, I have a complaint against the court system, the mental health system, the police departments, because I'm going to tell you what they did to me. And I've got proof from nurses and doctors that said, you have been set up. And they said they would testify that it was done, and I can even prove I got them in the bank. Shaw's people made up that I had started a fight at the bank. I was told that at the mountains, and the nurse said, that's what they're telling on you. She said, you don't look like that kind of person. I said, I've never had a fight in my life. I went to the bank when the women released me. I said, Richard, did somebody call and tell the police I started a fight? He said, we don't know nothing about that. We ain't never seen you do nothing like that. And that's what Shaw's system deputies did to Judy Gray and put me away. And what else they did, they said I was racist. I said, racist? Because I lived in Charleston, and that was the slavery. That's what he said. That was a racist remark. I lived in Charleston, taught at a military base. I've been up north substituting. I've got 6 years of college, top master's degree at that time that was in Appalachian. And I was the most outstanding teacher in Casey. And I'm one of the top reading teachers. You get all 3 curriculum specialists, we verify she's the best. Now, I want to know how Shaw and those deputies and the city gets by making applies. 9 times they locked me up. Finally, the psychiatrist began to ask me, Judy, we want to ask you some questions. So we don't understand this. You made perfect scores on every test we given. Something ain't right. And finally, they began to ask me questions. We will hear what you say, what's your opinion. That's all I was talking about. Shaw had 2 deputies to ride me for 3 hours, and they laughed all the way and wouldn't tell me where I was going, wouldn't tell me what they were locking me up for. And then I went and talked to someone under Shaw's authority, and she said, the psychiatrist said, you were out of touch. I said, I was watching TV. How can I be out of touch if I'm watching TV? That's all I done. I was out of touch. I said, I was watching TV. So how can somebody be out of touch if they're watching TV? Especially if it's got some muscle in my undoubtedly they think they can read my mind. They wouldn't know what I was praying. They wouldn't know what I was thinking. That's what was used against me. And the psychiatrist said, we're going to get to the end of this. They won't even sign papers. Not one psychiatrist would sign a paper. Not one would face me. Every time I went, they hid from me. Now, what do you think about that? And you think Shaw doesn't have something crooked going on? And the city and the court system that allows mental health to do that to me? You know what? Because I know too much. I know too much about Cabarrus County.
But your time is up, Ms. Gray.
I beg pardon?
I say your time is up.
Okay, thank you very much. And it'd be nice if somebody held me accountable.
Okay, our next card is from David Baxter.
Good evening, Commissioners. I had this is kind of a weird situation because I worked for the county for a number of years, and for 15 years I helped broadcast the Commissioners' meetings. And I have seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. And what I wanted to say today is that I really appreciate all the efforts that you guys do, the time you spend. A lot of times people don't realize the amount of other committees and meetings. It's not just 2 meetings a month. You guys do a lot. The other thing I'd like to do is say thank you to Commissioner Morris. I had the honor of working with you for eight years. And the one thing I can say is that you always were a man of integrity, compassion, and you would listen to people. And that was a thing that I think is a great, that is a great trait for anybody in a leadership position. And I think that respect is the other thing. You know, in these days and times, there's a lot of non-respect. And I can say that from everything that I've seen in the 8 years that I was working with you, I always saw you respect people. And that's a great trait. The other thing is, you know, to kind of echo some of the other thoughts, you have to make hard decisions. And they're not easy. And a lot of times people are upset because in the short term there's pain and things cost money and things happen. Nothing's for free. But the beauty of really investigating, and the thing that I saw you do a lot, is research. Not just have an idea of what the decision is going to be before you got the information. You got the information, then you made the decision. Sometimes not popular, but you look at the long terms. Those are the things that help our children and our grandchildren not to have to face issues that you're doing and taking care of. And this is for all of you. And I think that is a foresight, and that really impacts the future of what Cabarrus County is. And we are so fortunate as a county to have what we have, the quality of life. And it's extremely important to know that your leadership has been a driving force in that. And I really appreciate all that you've done and all the commissioners have done. And just one last thing. The good book says we should love our neighbor, and I just pray to God that we do that.
Our next card is from Wesley Honeycutt.
Step out of line. I think there's 3 copies on there, if y'all wanna share. Kenny, you always smile at me when I say this, that I'm gonna come up here and not be nice because I don't have time, and this is a good change of pace. I mean, I do feel like a lot of people have got up here and said really nice things, and I try to come up here and be respectful whenever I present my ideas, and I believe that, you know, all you folks that have showed up, I think that you genuinely feel the way that you feel about Steve. And Steve, I feel like whenever I've come up here, I mean, I've never felt maligned or anything like that. I mean, you may say something about me behind the scenes, but I mean, you do sit there respectfully and endure what we have to say. But I do think with as many people that are here to support you, there's an equal amount in the county that don't feel supported. They don't feel heard. And that's why I have to come up here and I have to point out things that I see that don't quite seem right. See, I heard multiple folks come up here and talk about the numbers with the ACN building and talk about how they made sense and talked about how it cost $85 to $130 million to build comparable property, but Integra Realty Resources said $54 million. Whenever you all were trying to sell it, you always shied away from that number and you shied towards the higher number because it made what you were doing look better. You know, you said that that they were using an income-based appraisal, but Integra did 3 appraisal methods. They did a cost approach, they did an income-based, and they did a sales comp proposal. Sales comp is the best because it's what things are actually selling for. See, I'm a firm believer that if you have a good idea, you don't have to distort the truth to get what you want. We could have just agreed to disagree on some things, and that's fine. I will always disagree that it was the best deal just because of the numbers on it. The $85 to $130 million appraisal, for example, when you all were before the LGC, Ms. Hoffman asked, is that construction only, no furniture, upfit, or anything like that? And you said, yes, ma'am. But if you look on the second page there, there's an FFE line. That's furniture, fixtures, and equipment, $4.5 to $6.5 million. And maybe you just didn't know. But I've seen too many times where I felt like the truth is distorted. I have the emails from your old deputy county manager attempting to deceive the LGC and say, here's what the ACN's worth, and you hid the market value appraisal. You hid it. If I hadn't have done the FOIA request, I'm the one. If anybody wants to be mad at anyone, Wes Honeycutt, I forgot to introduce myself. But you shouldn't have to hide stuff. You shouldn't have to call Senator Paul Newton, Representative Kevin Crutchfield, and have them show up as a political favor to push an idea through. Be honest. I told you guys last time, I'd have so much more respect for you if you did. So again, I appreciate that you sit here and you take this from me every week. And we can just agree to disagree, but there's 2 sides to it. Listen to both sides. We know some stuff too. And I know that means I'm done too, so thanks.
Okay, our next card is from Steven Steinbacher.
Good evening. It's the first time I've addressed this county commissioner, and I want to thank you all again for your service. My name is Steve Steinbacher. I am a 30-year resident of Cabarrus County. Before I do, I want to just take one quick second to again commend Sheriff Shaw on the efforts with the hurricane relief. As chairman of the Concord Police Foundation, It's really refreshing to see our law enforcement officers and our first responding coming together in this era of political division and just do what's right for those in need. So again, thank you. I also want to thank you, Steve. Again, as a 30-year resident, it wasn't really until the second half of my time here in Cabarrus County that I really cared anything about local politics. Fortunately, I've had the good fortune to start a number of small businesses here in Cabarrus County and now employ well over 150 people. And it was the leadership and the activities and the smart development growth that has given local investors like myself the confidence to do what we do. And I'm not alone. Again, we are grateful. But I'm also sad because, again, it was that same political apathy that I had the first half of my residency here in Cabarrus County that is leading us to where I think we're going to lose some of that leadership going forward. So again, I just want to say thank you. You're a good man. You're a good friend. I appreciate all your service, and you will be missed. Thank you.
Okay, our next card is from Cindy Furtenbaugh.
Short people. Good evening, Chairman Morris, commissioners, and staff members. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm Cindy Furtenbaugh from Concord, and since everybody else is mentioning their years, I've been in the county over 38 years. As a Rotarian with the Concord Afton Sunset Rotary Club and a member of the Rotary Polio Plus Club, thank you for recognizing World Polio Day coming up on October 24th with your proclamation. Eradicating polio is the focus of Rotarians worldwide. Secondly, as a past member of the Cabarrus County School Board for 18 years, serving with Mr. Shue and Mr. Furr, I've worked with a lot of commissioners over the years, navigating board relationships amongst the school board, and you guys can attest to that, or amongst the commissioners or between the two boards is not always easy. The best boards are those who are collaborative and work together to succeed for the good of the community. It cannot be a we or they mentality. While I appreciate all members of this commission, and I truly do, I particularly want to recognize Chairman Steve Morris. Chairman Morris has always been open to the school board request, to planning for the future, to being creative with ideas to solve school infrastructure issues, to fund additional assistant principals, school resource officers, nurses, and other important positions for both school safety and learning advancement. Steve has also consistently worked to increase the teacher supplement to help CCS remain competitive with teacher salaries. I can tell you firsthand that school needs always included a discussion about funding and the timing and the most fiscally responsible way to answer those needs. The many hours of thoughtful meetings and conversations that don't make the news. Steve always answered my calls, and I appreciate that. When our requests couldn't be met, I always came away with enough insight and information about alternatives and how we needed to proceed. I hope the community at large appreciates the contributions that Steve has made for the benefit of our public schools, libraries, senior citizen centers, and in the many other areas which the commissioners serve. Best wishes, Steve, as you conclude your service on the commission.
Okay, our next card is from Chris Cranston.
Good evening to the citizens of Cabarrus County. A specific shout out to the members of Cabarrus County Citizens Against Tax Hikes and for Government Transparency. Mr. Meismer, pleasure to see you again. Thanks for trying your best to spend our money wisely. The rest of you commissioners, it's hard to look at you. It's pathetic to watch this group stop at nothing to overspend foolishly. What a poor example you set. You take our tax dollars by threat of seizure, only to use them as fuel for your furnace of never-ending corruption. Obviously, but not all of us, but many of us are on to you, Steve. We see you and how you run Lynn Shue and Wortman, and these decisions are basically yours. It's your decision to put us in perpetual debt with no way to pay back. It appears the plan is to actually sabotage the future reps and all of us citizenry. Steve, it appears you lack the character required to lead with dignity and grace. You can't simply pass the torch and thank the Cabarrus County for the opportunity to serve. You behave like a petulant, spoiled child who just lost a baseball game. There will be no standing in line with the victors shaking hands. You'd rather steal all the balls, collect all the bats, kick the bases over, defecate on home plate, than run away. For months, this ACN deal looked dead on arrival. Your biggest opponent was Democrat Auditor Jessica Holmes. Her mission is to find wasteful spending. The months leading up to October's vote, she is quoted as calling this deal lacking in logic, out of whack, full of discrepancies. She told you that if you appeared with the same numbers, it would be a quick chat. She could not comprehend how you had no plan B. Month after month, she appropriately shut down this deal. I was almost sure I had found another Democrat I could vote for. So how did this turn so quickly? Ms. Holmes quickly became your biggest cheerleader and defender. She even motioned to pass the out-of-whack deal. Let's just say Steve didn't sell out his constituents and party for no returns. You endorse the Democrats in September, and then they support you in October. Follow the money. How about respect? Everybody talking about respect. Respect our tax dollars. I'm glad you got all these. I'm glad we got extra cameras here since it's Bootlicker Steve night. Maybe we should have your special night for TV. I didn't realize that it was that night for you, and I apologize to rain on that parade, but you're spending our money like a crazy man. You can't, nobody in here, anybody stand up that's ever paid double for an appraisal. Anybody. And it's including, nobody stood, none of your supporters either. Most of them left right after they talked, right? They're just here to say good things about you and then run. Well, I'm here, and I'm not going, I'm gonna be here again. And it blows my mind that people let you lie, cheat and steal, and then say how great you are. So it blows my mind. We have leaders coming in. We're gonna be fine with leadership. We're not gonna have some void. Lynn, you didn't save the county in 14. You didn't turn the whole country around. The whole country turned around. You didn't do that. You guys need to get a grip.
Okay, our next card is from Yolanda Rushing.
Yolanda Rushing, Army veteran. 6 months ago, I came and I requested this board to investigate and research DSS. That did not happen. Chris Meismer, as the DSS liaison, it is your job to go to the DSS, research, figure out the problems, and bring them back to the board, understand what's going on, and implement policies. That's General Statute 720. When I met with Mike and Steve, they couldn't answer my questions. In fact, they stated, there's nothing I can do. I had to quote general statutes to say that there is something you can do. When it came to Elise Pugh, I had to let her know there was stuff that she could do. But don't blame this all on Elise, because it started with Karen Calhoun, and we all know that. I called you, Meismer, with my issue. You did not return my call, but yet, respectfully, you urge your people to come here and ridicule the whole board when you are not being honest with them. That is not right. You didn't return my call. Instead, you are telling people that taxes, that you're doing great with the budget. You chose the most expensive option for legal reform. The most expensive option. But you're saying that he's not raising taxes? Or he's spending money appropriately? But he is. It was in the April meeting. We can all go back and look at that. It's not right. The caseworkers, I have no vendetta, Steve Morris. That was not right for you to tell Cindy Furtenbaugh that. I have none. My issue with DSS, the social workers are not skilled. You only spent $1,200 in training, $1,200. I went to the pre-service training in Raleigh. There was no Cabarrus County representative present. You are improperly removing children from homes, and you want to hide behind it. But yet and still, y'all come here gatekeep people out of the community that want to speak up and say what you all are doing wrong. I was told that if I wanted to live here, I have to be quiet. I'm not. I'm not crazy. I'm not belligerent, Steve. You all removed my children for no reason. My 2 boys are back home, praise God. And I will get my 2 boys back. And I will stand and I will speak. You all know what's going on. They're not insane. And then you want to be disrespectful to this lady? That's not community. Laugh, chuckle. What are we doing, Cabarrus? What are we doing? They are removing children improperly. And I'm going to get my children home.
Okay, our next card is from Grace Minot.
Good evening. It's good to see some familiar faces that I worked with before and some newcomers that I've still to learn. Having served on both the Board of Education and the Board of Commissioners for more years than I can count, I've worked with Steve Morris for many years. Steve is that rare leader who brings out the best in those he leads. With a steady, unflappable manner, he listens to the other commissioners in staff meetings and at the monthly public meetings. Unfailingly polite and fair, he takes note of all the concerns and opinions. The growth of our county has brought and will continue to bring major decisions that will be viewed differently by different groups of people. Steve has handled all of these situations with calm and polite demeanor. The commission going forward will meet these same complex decisions as their challenge. I hope they take a page from Steve's book. It is impossible to quantify the number of hours Steve has given to this county, attending groundbreaking, special observances, state meetings, new industry recruitment, and on behalf of the citizens of Cabarrus County. And I want to thank you, Steve.
Thank you. Okay, that completes all of the cards we have for informal public comments
Chairman
tonight.
Morris.
Yes, sir.
I would like to respond to public comment tonight, but if it's okay with this board, I would like to do it under Section I, general comments by board members, if that's okay with this board. That way we can get through
Certainly.
a little bit is left.
Okay. Okay, next up is our consent agenda. The consent agenda consists of items that we discussed in depth at our work session 2 weeks ago. Do I hear a motion to adopt the consent agenda as presented? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes. We do not have any items of new business tonight, so we will move to reports. First is to receive updates from commission members who serve as liaisons to municipalities or on various boards or committees. Does anyone have any updates they'd like to share tonight? Serving as the liaison to the Library Board of Trustees, I will mention that we will have a ribbon cutting for the Library and Senior Center in Mount Pleasant on October 23rd, and I think 5:30, is it 5 o'clock or 5:30? 5:30, yes. Yes, so October 23rd at 5:30, so we hope everyone will turn out for that. That will be for the Library Senior Center and the new Virginia Fall Park that's been constructed there. Are there any other reports? If not, we will move to general comments by board members. And I think, Commissioner Workman, you said you had something.
I first wanted to acknowledge one of the comments tonight specifically made by Wes Honeycutt. We might not always agree on everything that you say, but I respect the way that you do it. You do your research, you lay out your thoughts to where somebody could easily follow those thoughts and understand them, even if there's a difference of opinion. So I absolutely respect the way that you come and present that. The other thing that I wanted to do was thank the local government commission members that are watching tonight. It's been made evident that they do watch our meetings, and I appreciate that they stated at their last meeting that they want nothing to do with local politics. That's not their job. They don't want to be involved in it. So I'd like to take a couple minutes, since I'm not limited by 3 minutes at the school board. I could take a couple more minutes to show some things and shed some transparency on the ACN building and the school purchase. So if it's okay, I'm going to have you, I'll bring you some notes and I'll have you put them on the projector. I've got them labeled. I'll let you know when I need them, and we'll just go from there. And I would also like to make one more comment before we start, that the news cameras were not here tonight for Steve Morris. They're here for what I was about to say. Thank you. I want to take a quick minute to show real quick how politics work in Cabarrus County. So if you can post page 1 to the overhead projector, please. These are the official minutes from our Cabarrus County Board meeting on May 15th, 2023. The highlighted part says, Chairman Morris moved to authorize the county manager to execute a purchase agreement subject to review and revisions by the county attorney for tax parcels, and then it lists the parcels. It says Vice Chairman Hsu seconded the motion. Those tax parcels are for the ACN building. That's what this vote was for. It says following further discussion, the motion carried with Chairman Morris, Vice Chairman Hsu, and Commissioners Wortman and Strang voting for, and Commissioner Meismer voting against. So we have 4 people that voted for it, 1 person that voted against it. Commissioner Meismer has always voted against it. Commissioner Furr voted for it so it's always been just 1 against. So if you can put, it shows here the people who voted for it. So if you could put page 2 up for me. These are the comments from ex-Commissioner Strang to Dale Falwell. I'm writing you this morning to discuss Cabarrus County's lack of concern with the guidance you provided during the July 9th LGC meeting. Several citizens and I attended last night's commission meeting and were disgusted with what occurred. Chairman Morris' lack of concern and doesn't seem to care. He plans to come back to you with the same funding plan. I would encourage you to watch last night's meeting and refuse any funding approvals until the new board takes office. As a former county commissioner, this type of brazen disregard for the LGC's recommendation and blatant disregard for the citizens of this county is typical for Chairman Morris and Commissioner Hsu. Those comments were made by somebody who voted to buy the building. So if you're looking at how politics work in Cabarrus County, that's a glaring example of that. I went to the school board meeting on October 14th to exercise my free speech and shed some light and transparency for the school board on the difficulties that we have been facing with the LGC regarding the funding of future schools. I am no stranger to speaking at the school board meetings and have spent years showing up there and speaking. There was an article in the Independent Tribune where Commissioner candidate Laura Lindsay stated that she supports public schools and that I mischaracterized her comments. If you can post page 3, please. These were the comments that were made by school board member Laura Lindsay running for county commissioner, and the part that is blacked out up top is her address. I'm not a believer in posting people's addresses and cell phone numbers publicly. I will state, I'm not going to show them in here, but on these handouts that I give to the news reporters here tonight, that information is available so that you can fully request that as well. But you can see here that the comment I read, it says, "I formally request that this board consider tabling any further action on the 2 remaining requests from Cabarrus County." Now, on the other side of that piece of paper, if you'll flip that piece of paper over, it says, "As an elected school board member in Cabarrus County, I'm concerned that the County Board of Commissioners has been reluctant to use voter-approved debt financing to support the projected $1 billion of future Cabarrus County school construction projects, and tabling the 2 issuance requests until a new board is seated will allow this to occur and is in the best interest of the citizens of Cabarrus County." You can't be for public schools yet make comments behind the scenes to stall those same projects until a new Board of Commissioners is decided. I can't mischaracterize something if I read it word for word. Those were the statements that were made as public comment. I didn't add anything to it. I just simply read them. And in an act of transparency, I've left mine on here as well. It says, "I am writing in regard to the ACN building that has been the topic of discussion lately, and the reason for a bunch of these comments you've gotten. I am in favor of the county purchasing the ACN building for our county DSS staff, as well as the future site of our mental health facility. As a sitting Cabarrus County Commissioner, I voted for the purchase of this building. I do believe that this is the best option we have, and it's still $20 million cheaper than the cheapest building we can build. Are we happy about the appraisal versus the purchase price? No, as no one would be. However, at the end of the day, it is the cheapest option we have. Last I checked, it wasn't the LGC's job to undermine current county commissioner boards. It is solely their job to make sure we can pay for what we are asking. I will respect whatever decision the LGC makes. However, I won't respect not allowing it to make it on the agenda. From my understanding, we have met every demand given and have come back with the guidance we were given. To not allow this on the agenda, to even have a chance to be voted on, is a brazen act of disrespect to those of us elected to make these decisions. I'm asking that you allow this item to be placed on the agenda and give it a chance to be voted on. For months, we have been accused of backdoor deals and trying to tie the hands of a future board. My seat is not up for election until November 2026, so I will have to deal with the fallout from this and still voted in favor of it. There have been emails and texts to the state treasurer asking for this to be blocked. Those same texts and emails are for a political candidate who is running for an open seat and who endorsed the state treasurer at a GOP meeting I was personally at Northwest Cabarrus Middle School. It's not a good look for the LGC to play politics in Cabarrus County, and by refusing to allow this to the agenda, that is exactly what it looks like is going on. Each of you has a vote and a voice, just like our board does. Please make sure to use it and allowing this item a chance to either pass or fail, but at least allow it to have a chance. Those were the comments that I made and submitted to the LGC. I would like to think that no one sitting up here as a county commissioner would have a hand in being in contact with State Treasurer Dale Falwell to delay plans for funding schools and the ACN building purchase, especially since it was a 4-1 vote here with the county commissioners and a 4-3 vote, I believe. It was either 4-3 or 5-2 with the school board. According to the state treasurer, there has been no contact with candidates or commissioners in the video that I'm about to play. I'd also like to point out before I play this video that the question that is asked is not answered, but instead a pivot is made. A pivot is something that politicians use when they either want to avoid a question or they don't know enough to speak on it, and they want to use that time to speak on something else. Lauren, I sent you an email earlier today with a video link that I was going to ask to be played tonight. If you can pull that video up, and we're going to go to the 9-minute mark. And this was a video done on October 1st, 2024 by the editor of the North Carolina Tribune, Ray Gronberg. Are you able to pull it up on here? And at the 9-minute mark.
See your mouth moving.
Hello?
Yes, sir. Good morning.
Good morning, Treasurer. I'm looking at the Cabarrus County items and the non-recommendation of those. And I have a couple questions, starting whether you've been in communication with folks in Cabarrus County like Chris Meismer and Larry Pittman.
Well, I did not know Chris. He was at our local government commission meeting the other day. Larry Pittman is somebody that I serve with in the General Assembly. And I think if you'll tune in to our local government commission meeting today, you'll actually hear staff talk about the deficiencies in these applications.
That question was not answered. Absolutely not answered. It was deflected. If you can go ahead and post number 4 on there. This is a timeline, when it gets up there, a rough timeline of the county and the ACN buildings. And for anybody that's watching at home, you can pause it. Make sure to read it all. But in a nutshell, so far with this timeline, we had no motion made with a comment of, I do not see a path forward. We've been left off of an agenda at 1. The staff has forgotten to give information to the LGC members. And at the recent one, a motion was made right out of the gate at the beginning of the LGC meeting to deny our request, which thankfully several LGC members had the courage to speak out against and voice their displeasure with those tactics. We also had the LGC FOIA request the county, which has not been done before. School personnel have stated that Cabarrus County schools have never been treated this way, nor have they ever been asked for so much information, but they have been willing to bend over backwards to make it happen. We've had multiple speakers talk about FOIA requests. 2 county commissioner candidates used the ACN building and funding to run their platforms on, and those same 2 commissioner candidates have stated they will make Commissioner Meismer chair, and they will have the majority vote. But the funny thing about FOIA requests is that they work both ways. If you can go ahead and post number 5. This is a FOIA request on State Treasurer Dale Falwell's cell phone. In there you can see from County Commissioner candidate Larry Pittman, and I did, again, block out a personal cell phone number. Dale, I really need to talk to you, but I couldn't get you on either number I have. Please call me at. I thought I had given you and Chris Meismer each other's contact information, but he says he doesn't have yours. Y'all really need to talk. I can give him his number. I can give him this number if that's okay. The work number I have for you may not be right. When I tried to call you earlier, I got a message that said the number had been changed or was no longer in service. And then Chris's information and a personal cell phone and an email, which I blacked out. I don't believe in giving that out. And now on page 6, I was just wondering, if I do take office as county commissioner in December, will that suspend my state retirement? Not really important to this conversation, but the fact that shows Dale Falwell is actually communicating with you, but refused to acknowledge that in the video that he was asked. And if you can go to page 7 as well, it says, I was talking to Chris Meismer today. He said he tried to call you yesterday and didn't get you, so he left you a voicemail. Please give him a call. Thanks, Larry. Is it that far of a stretch of the imagination to think that a man who purposely lied and avoided a question in an interview earlier this month, the same man that is under SBI investigation for misuse of state vehicles, and a man that is self-proclaimed friend of a commissioner candidate and was endorsed by him at 2 different events I was at, that he wouldn't do a favor for a friend on his way out of office? One of those events was at Northwest Cabarrus Middle School, and the other one was at Two Gals Kitchen before I was removed by the police as being an unaffiliated voter at a Republican event. At this point, it's pretty clear that unelected candidates, who made it very clear multiple times in public comment they want control of this commissioner board, have been doing the same backroom deals that they have accused this board of doing. If you take office in November, then you'll have the votes to do as you please. But until then, this current board is the one making the decisions. If this is the type of behavior that is happening before you take office, I'd hate to see what happens once you actually do. If both Republican candidates win the election, then Commissioner Hsu and myself will be in the minority. Imagine the public outrage if we were to behave this way. It's our job to advocate what we believe in and try to get the other commissioners to see it the same way. If we don't, then we've done what we can, we support the decision that was made, and we move on. We don't work behind the scenes and try to undermine what the majority voted for. If this is acceptable behavior, then I expect to not hear anything during public comments if Lynn and I were to do this after the election. I don't understand the need to win so badly that personal morals are compromised. When did people stop worrying about the truth and only about winning? If you're a Democrat, then you should be upset, as these are Republicans acting this way. If you're a Republican and found out Democrats were behaving this way, you would also be upset. It doesn't matter about party affiliation at this point. The citizens of Cabarrus County deserve to know the truth. That's the transparency that we continually hear about. They deserve to know if unelected people who want control of a commissioner board and a state treasurer have been trying to make the decisions on a local level. That is transparency, and I hope the investigative journalists here tonight search for the truth, whatever that may be. And if this is acceptable behavior as well, why are people wasting their time to even go cast a vote during elections? Does it even matter? Or can you just, if you know the right people, you can undermine what a board decides? People talk about transparency all the time with how they want it and how they deserve it. There's a difference in talking about wanting it and actually wanting it. This whole ordeal is a joke at this point. To have to be lectured each month on backroom deals and hiding information by the very people who are doing exactly that is irony at its finest. The saddest part of all this is that we continue to be questioned about our faith by the same people doing what I've described. There's been public comment that some of us have forgotten we are children of God, public comment about we won't be standing next to each other at our judgment. There's people that have been led by their religious beliefs to run for office. You name it, it's been said, and we've heard it in here. But it seems like some people think they've been talking to God, but really it's their own ambition. Nothing like using the name of Jesus for personal gain. I don't follow Christians, I follow God. Some of the evilest people claim to be Christian and are the strongest promoters of Jesus. If that's what you want to come lecture me on every month, I'll pass. I don't need any fruit from that rotten apple tree. So in closing, I'll leave you with a Bible verse that I like, Isaiah 29:13. They honor me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. That's what I would like to say.
Thank you. Commissioners, are there any other general comments?
I've got a question while we're on this subject, and, you know, I will say I have consistently opposed the purchase of the ACN building from the beginning, and I have the right and the ability to express that opinion to whoever I may so choose. So I have been consistent on that from the very beginning whenever this was brought to us in the summer of 2023. But while we're talking about it, while we're talking about the LGC funding, I do have a question. Rather than statements or any of that, I've got a question for county management and Chairman Morris. It had been mentioned that if the funding was not approved by the LGC by the October meeting, that we would not be able to approach the LGC for funding until February because of our county audit. So could I hear about the plan on that? If I know that this is on the agenda, the school funding is on the agenda for the LGC in November. So how is that going to affect the county audit? It was mentioned in our public meeting a couple of times, once by Chairman Morris, once by Manager Downs. So how is this going to affect the county audit with this being on the agenda and the LGC agenda in November?
I will attempt to answer your question. Certainly, Manager Downs can add to that, because I've asked exactly the same question. Typically, any new items are not accepted to go on the agenda of the Local Government Commission agenda until any entity, and that would be a municipality or a county or anybody that they have decision-making process over, until their audit has been submitted, reviewed, and approved. Our item was on the October agenda, and because it was tabled to the November agenda, it was not being presented as a new item on the agenda. So that is the reason that it will be considered absent the deadline for the audit. Your question, you ask, how would that affect our audit?
That's not right, because it had been mentioned about that, because of the audit, we wouldn't be able to approach again until February, if it was not approved in October.
Any entity that does not have their item on the LGC agenda by October cannot submit an item until their audit is approved.
Okay. I just wanted some clarification on that while we're on this topic. I wanted
Great.
to hear. So.
Okay. Any other general comments? Okay, hearing none, we do have need of a closed session tonight. So at this time, I would entertain a motion to go into closed session per North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11 A3 and 6 to discuss pending litigation and personnel matters. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. All opposed, no. And we are now in closed session.